Hi everyone, Mary Kay McGarvey here. I just wanted to do a quick video to show how grade 5 can really use this Numberline math app to help when comparing numbers. So a couple things, this math app has, for number lines, has a ton of different uses for number lines. So this is how it opened when I clicked in. You can see it can be whole numbers, fractions, decimals, no numbers, no ticks. So it's really up to you kind of how you want to set it up. And we can talk about also how we can think about this as a scaffold for some of our students. So some students, the ticks might be a scaffolding support. Some students, maybe we take the ticks away and have them reason about the size or the length. So just really quickly, we are in the world of decimals. So I click decimals. You'll notice in grade 5, we go to the thousandths place, which you can see is supported here. So I could do thousandths. I can scroll up here at the top. I could also space them out a little bit more. Or just kind of in that middle range. I could also pick where my number line starts. The other option, which I think for a lot of our grade 5 students would be appropriate, would be to have no numbers there, and they have to determine their own endpoints, their own midpoints, that whole gamut. So really quickly, if we're doing this with students and we're practicing with students, maybe get them started seeing, maybe start with whole numbers and kind of identifying where whole numbers are, maybe move into tenths, maybe move into hundredths, then maybe move into thousandths, and just locating numbers, what numbers are around them, how far away are they from, and then pick their next number, because that's really going to help us when we're thinking comparisons, when we're thinking rounding. And we'll look at that a little bit more in depth as well. So let's look at how these are going to be used during instruction to kind of give you an idea what you want your students to play around with and what you want your students to be comfortable with. So I'm going to go into one of our lessons coming up. This is Essential Task 27. I'm going to click on this just so we're all familiar with how this will be used. The problem is already written on here. We're going to use the number line to show a model comparing 4 tenths and 394 thousandths. So this is what it looks like when it comes up. As the teacher, kind of think about how you want to structure this. You might want to have the numbers already input. So maybe you want to have your, to do that. Maybe you want to have your 3 tenths, and I'm just going to add those zeros to kind of help us out here. And maybe you want to have your 4 tenths. And once again, I'm just going to add some zeros here. Maybe you want to have those already set up for students. Maybe you want to have those tick marks already set up for students. And I'm not going to do that yet because that's going to clear everything I have, but I'm going to show you that in a second. So that could be a scaffold. Maybe you just want your students to think about what that midpoint would be, right? Or maybe you want your students to think to themselves, 394 thousandths is very close to 4 tenths. Right? I can tell that it's only 1/10 away. So there is some reasoning there, and that is something that students are going to have to think about. But I can see that it's close, but I can see that it is not greater than 4 tenths. So let's kind of look at this problem a different way. I can, let's look at this with no numbers, but tick marks. And if this is something that you want to change, I would change it so it's at least a medium. So those numbers are a little bit more spread out. If you want to take that problem, let's go back. Sorry, it was in the same screen. Let's go back to this slide. We can copy and paste right from here. So I'm just going to hit Control C. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go to this little T. I'm going to hit Control V. There's my problem already set up for students. So once again, Math Apps is great because this is a really friendly way to scaffold some of these problems. So now I have those tick marks to help. Now I can think about how I could use my tick marks to determine the distance between 4/10, I'm sorry, to determine which is greater, 4/10 or 394 thousandths. Once again, that's tough for some of our students to grasp because this 394 thousandths has 3 digits, whereas 4/10 only has 1 digit. So it's hard for them to see that 4/10 is the greater number. So coming down here, I can click, I just click this little guy. I can go ahead and I can add my numbers. So if I want to add to my number line 4/10, I can, and I can drag that wherever I may need to put that. I could add then to my number line, I could add 39 hundredths, right? I could keep adding numbers to help me out here too. Just kind of going through my number line, right? So I can kind of start to see where this would go. I know that 394 thousandths would be between 39 hundredths and 4/10. So I have a couple options here. I could take this little guy, I could add another box, I could add my 394 thousandths, and I could put it in here, which does make it kind of hard to see. Once again, I could space these out a little bit more if I needed to. My other option is I could take my marker, my tool, I could make a little dot where it would be, and I could either add text or I could write 394 thousandths right there on my screen for my red dot. So those are kind of your options there. This video, we're just comparing. We'll look at another video for rounding, but think about how you could possibly use this for your students. Think about how, and think about how you could scaffold these, which is great. Oh, something I meant to show you that I did not. So let's say now that I have, here's my setup. I'm over here. I know this is a different problem, but if I come down here, I do share link, copy link, all I need to do is go back to where this original link was. I can click here, I can edit the link, and if I change the link, it's going to change to what we just created. So if you want to scaffold that task for all of your students, change that link. If you want different students to have different levels of support, you can send different links out to different people, because essentially we're still using that number line and we can compare those strategies on that number line. I hope that this helps. Please take some time yourself, play around in here. Please take some time to let your students play around in here. There is also, I just clicked in the Math Apps, that number line. This has some great ideas for how you could also use number lines and play around on number lines. Find the hidden decimals could be a great activity to help students get a little bit more comfortable. There's a bunch of different features here, and there's a video about the app as well. If you want to check that out, there's plenty of resources about that number line. Once again, take your time, let students dig in, let them get used to this and play around. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it.